That's it. How many people are taking it? Any questions? Hi.
Okay, I have two questions. First of all, on cost of transaction. As you say, you are connected to different stock exchanges.
Correct.
With DMA. And what's the key differentiator there? Is it like depending on the bank that you connect to, or do you have the usual stock market fees?
You would have the usual stock market fees, which every market participant needs to pay. We have priced the platform itself circa about €3,500 euros per annum, something of that order. I mean, it depends on volumes and so on, but starting from that price. In terms of execution, I mean, we have to be, market sensitive and market priced. One of the things we were insistent on with the UMEX Trader platform, and certainly with UMEX Securities, the retail-based offering, is that we are spot on in terms of market price. As an example, the share trading platform execution is £12.50 upwards per. I mean, that's a sort of standard rate, and then beyond a certain level, it gets into percentage. But that is, as I say, mid-market pricing for a premium product, and we're insistent we don't charge a premium despite the fact we have a premium product. So with UMEX Trader, that's precisely our pricing points as well. The execution ultimately will be mid-market, what the market pricing feeds and so on are, and indeed who you're executing through. We're using Citigroup because when we did our market research, they were the most competitive in terms of execution prices. And we get it at institutional prices. We don't consolidate, so we're not aggregators, but we get aggregated prices, if you see what I mean. Because of the fact that through one institution, us, we're able to show larger flows, given our size, we do get the discounts, we do get the price improvements that if you were a small institution doing smaller amounts, you may not necessarily get. So, I mean, the answer is we're very market competitive.
Referring to institutional rate? Are you an institution? I mean, I think Silvan was, sorry, my name is Mahesh. Sorry to butt in.
No, that's right.
Okay.
So this is Mahesh Jayanarayan. He's the chairman of the UMEX Capital Markets Group.
Sorry to butt in.
No.
Silvan was referring to the share dealing service for private clients, which is £12.50. It's not an institutional rate. The institutional rate depends on the amount of volume that you do, and that could be in several basis points. So we are talking about, depends on whether it's a frontier market, whether it depends on a mainstream market. So it differs from 10 basis points right up to 35 basis points, depending on which market you want to execute. Peru is going to cost you 50 basis points. Because we're charging 50 basis points, the settlements are very expensive, custodially expensive. So, it depends on the market you want to execute on. But I can tell you this much, we are extremely competitive compared to any institution. And again, depends on the kind of volumes you're going to turn around.
Can I just say one thing there? Yeah. On the share dealing service for the UK private clients, they mentioned a figure of £12.50. If you are a more frequent trader, you can pay a quarterly fee of £20 and only pay £8 per trade rather than £12.50. So it depends on how often you're trading. But once again, that's the sort of level that we're looking at is if you're Joe average, you're not going to be trading very often. If you do trade more frequently, we have a service that offers to bring your share price down.
You mentioned here fixed connectivity.
Yes.
Probably for the seller as well as for the buyer. Maybe.
Correct.
I don't know if
yes, absolutely, both ways.
Picking
Yes.
up high frequency trading there. The one thing that I wanted to ask for the sell side is, are you not creating dark pools of liquidity, which, let's say, in the current situation with the upcoming regulations, could be under risk?
True, but I mean, so currently at the moment we are in the process of building, in effect, our own MTF capabilities potentially. So you're right, and we would be very sensitive to, and we're doing this with our partners. So we'll be very sensitive to creating dark pools, and in this time that might have negative connotations and so on. So we would veer away from that. But essentially what we're trying to achieve is create a central marketplace where buyers and sellers can meet. And if that means that we need to actually trade report it to the market, because that is, you know, what we need to do to adhere to regulations, then that is the route we would go down. I mean, we're not in the market for high frequency traders, because they're not necessarily the Sharia, you know, they're not in the Sharia space necessarily. You know, those people tend to be highly leveraged, high risk takers and so on. That's pretty much against the ethos of what we are trying to do. What we're, you know, the people that we're after are your more traditional stockbrokers, your traditional wealth managers, your traditional fund managers who would buy, they would keep, you know, a particular position for some time, and get out of it, you know, after some time. So for those people, creating opportunities or showing opportunities. Let's imagine, you know, if we have, you know, a Brazilian stockbroker that is able to actually come into our platform and sell or show, demonstrate his stocks that are Sharia compliant, that opens him up to you know, to a population from Malaysia that wouldn't naturally have a way into looking at Brazilian stocks and shares. Not naturally. They would look at US, they'd look at some of the European markets, certainly UK, but they wouldn't necessarily look at Brazilian. Yeah, that's what we're trying to achieve, essentially. You know, more than, you're right, you know, create these, you know, very, very interesting sort of dark pools and sort of deep levels of liquidity and hide it from everybody else. That's not what we're trying to achieve.
The other side of things, to answer your question about dark pools, is that that's your order, that's outside of our control. So if they are controlling a dark pool, then they're controlling a dark pool. Has nothing to do with our modus operandi.
We're just a bridge.
Yeah.
Well, I understand when you mentioned full DMA facility.
Yes.
We are able to buy at bids and sell at offers?
Yes, absolutely. The price that you see on screen ought to be the price that you would get it at. And when I say DMA facilities, in the sense, you do have stockbrokers who would show you a price, but you would be buying potentially their principal stock, so stocks that they've bought, or where they would take a number of orders and then go into the market with a larger order to aggregate. Yeah, typically with the smaller stockbrokers, retail stockbrokers, that may be how they deal, because it's cost effective to deal that way in the market. But that's not what we're about. We are, you know, you would go straight into the market and you would. True, yeah. And so the price that you see is what you get. We do have access to MTFs, so the likes of Turquoise and Chi-X and so on, which are private networks, if you like, within banks where they buy and sell. So you could get price improvements from what you see on the LSE, for example, if you trade through Chi-X, potentially. But we have access to those, and you would see that this is a Chi-X price and this is the LSE price.
Do you want to go back to the screen?
Yeah.
So, do you want to go back to the screen? I think there are some examples maybe on.
Not for prices, but
Where we have got the screenshot.
Yeah. So we've got AstraZeneca up here, and we've got two different sets of prices. One's the London Stock Exchange, and one is Turquoise, the MTF, and you will have different prices dependent on the availability of stock through Turquoise. So you may get a much better price going through Turquoise as an MTF than you would from the London Stock Exchange. And at the moment, over 50% of the trades in companies that are listed on the London Stock Exchange go through MTFs rather than the London Stock Exchange itself.
In that case, maybe it's a possibility to go to arbitrage.
potentially. Potentially.
As
long as you're Sharia compliant, yeah. Yes, you're right. Any other questions? Excellent. So everyone's signing up. Excellent. Right. Can I introduce formally my the chairman of my of UMEX Capital Markets Group, as I say, the parent company, and the person who will speak about the wider opportunities and the closing notes. Thank you.
Thank you. Conscious of the time, it's almost 6:20. I don't want to take too much of your time. I have a lot to say, but if I start, I won't stop. So I think before I start, I want to thank the speakers, Mayandar, who's known to me for a long time, and he always makes the effort to come and speak at our events. Richard Adamiri, who's been extremely helpful and has enabled us to bring this vision to this level with his screening service. And of course my colleagues, what can I say, they're brilliant, as you can have noticed yourselves. We have a huge agenda ahead of us in the space of retail, Sharia broking, retail pension plans, all kinds of things, but I think today is not the day for me to announce all these things. We will keep you informed since we have all your emails. We have a full agenda, and within the next 6 months we want to be able to provide not only the institutions are well catered for in the Sharia space, but the retail market, there is no products available in the retail market for the Islamic community. There are about 30 million people in Europe. Even if you take 7 million households, even if you take 1 million working class people, they have no Sharia plans. That's a fact. We have a lot of products. We have 1 trillion worth of funds, but those funds are not accessible to the retail sector. There's a huge market opportunity for all of you in this room who are here to create products or manage funds. And the market space is, if I take 1 million people and multiply it by 10,000, which is the allowable allowance for tax purposes, you can multiply that. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to find out the amount of money that is going to be available just under the pension schemes alone, minimum. So nobody is in that space. All the institutions are trading between themselves within the Sharia space. We have a handful of banks, HSBC, Lloyds, Sarazen, a couple more people who are providing some retail products. But the fact of the matter is, none of the Muslims today either have a pension plan, it's a ticking time bomb in Europe, and we want to be in this space. So we have the knowledge, we have the screening, we have the tools, we have the opportunity. All of us have an opportunity to engage in this space. It needs distribution. Because to get to the retail person, the number of Muslims in this room, I bet you don't have a pension plan in Sharia. The government of Britain announced last year that they're going to allow people to opt into a Sharia plan. We're working with the Swedish authorities, and within 2 to 3 months we will roll out a product in Sweden, of all places, which is Sharia pensions. Why not the UK? Why not France? Why not Germany? So there is a massive opportunity, I would say 20-30 billion euros worth of products that can be created in the pension fund area or the fund management side. Then there's the wealth management. So while everybody is tapping into the mainstream institution to institution structuring, exciting things, there's a massive market opportunity within the retail space. I'm going to leave you there. I want to thank you again, Humayun, Richard, Simon, and of course all of you for coming today. Thank you so much.